Good Wednesday morning. It's a busy day. Grizz were winners last night. A little bit of history. Because the Grizz have been around for a while, right? Last night, franchise record for combined points in a game with Phoenix. It went to overtime. 151, 148, 299 points scored. That's the most in the NBA this year. It's the most ever in Grizzlies history. It almost seemed like an all-star game broke out. No, there actually was effort, and there actually was defense being played. But it was a weird game because Ja missed his first 8 shots. It's 6 points after half, all from free throws. He wasn't that much better in the third quarter, but in the fourth, when it was winning time, he made the bucket that tied the game. He actually had 5 points in the last 9 seconds to send the game to overtime, and then he had a big shot in the overtime. He had a great assist to kind of ice the game away, and I thought it was fantastic. There was one huge mistake that allowed the Grizzlies to win last night, and it was a stupid mistake. It was a frustration by a guy who just can never help himself because he's really a good player and he's really a smart guy, but he has no self-discipline. I love it when a Dookie, a former Grizzly, just can't help himself, sets an illegal pick at the end of the regulation, or was it in overtime? In overtime. So, and Phoenix is up, and Grayson Allen shoves the guy down. That allowed the Grizzlies to come back and win the game. Isn't that poetic justice?
It's something.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect. That's Grayson Allen.
That sure is.
It's Grayson Allen, who's really a good player at 21 points, who can do so many good things, tries hard, but can't help but being a dirty guy. He just can't help himself. He was enabled by Mike Krzyzewski, by the way. Maybe that's it. Anyway, Grizzlies, that ties them with Denver at 38-20. And, this was pretty good. Triple J, again, 28 points before he fouled out. Bane was terrific, 25 points, 9 assists, and 29 and 8 assists for Ja, so he ended up being pretty darn productive when it was winning time. A really good game, and this is, as we mentioned, a big stretch. All these home games, 9 of 11 for the Grizzlies. They've got to make their move now if they want to stay in that top 4 tier in the West. The Tigers tonight, we're going to talk with Jason Munns, last segment of the show, about all this. They take on Rice, 13.5-point favorites. Of course, it's a must-win. Every win in this league is a must-win because of the way analytics work. It was 86-83 in Houston, but that was a really misleading number. The Tigers were in control the whole game. They had a 14-point lead in the first half. I think they were up 13 in the last 4 or 5 minutes of that game. I know they were up 8 with like a minute and a half to go and then tried to blow it. They didn't. They won 86-83. They had 16 turnovers in that game. I think they gave away 23 points. They've been much better. That was the only bad game in the stretch. In the last 8 games, the Tigers are averaging 19 assists. And they have done a good job of bringing the turnovers down. They're actually positive ratio on the year. So this one obviously is really important. You can't look forward to UAB on Sunday because you've got to win this game. There were some pretty big games last night. Georgia upsets Florida by 5. That's what happens in a league. Of course, Florida's the third-ranked team in the country. They're not moving out of the top 8, I promise you. They may slip a notch or two. This one I don't get. Iowa State has just not played very consistently down the stretch here. Now, Houston's a great team. Houston beat them at Iowa State, and then they lost last night on the road. And they lost to Oklahoma State, which is not a great team. So that's 2 tough losses. So, the 3 go down, the 9 team go down. Oh, Alabama, the 6th-ranked team. Ooh, my goodness, did they waste Mississippi State? That was 111-73. Same thing for Missouri. Now, South Carolina's not good, but that's 101-71. And Tennessee, the score's a little misleading. They beat LSU on the road by 6. They were up big in that game, and then LSU got very fortunate to almost make a game of it at the end. And we'll talk with Munzie a little bit about this. Tomorrow there's 2 big basketball games in the league that could really give the Tigers some breathing room. North Texas has to go to FAU. UAB has to go to Wichita. The UAB-Wichita by Ken Palm, Wichita's favored by 2, and the final score should be 81-79. That would be big if they got up ahead of UAB, because the Tigers don't have to play North Texas again, and they got the tiebreak on them. And North Texas is at FAU. Ken Palm's got that, a 2-point game as well, with North Texas winning by a couple, 70-68. Back to the NBA for a second. How about Luka? Luka Doncic? Triple-double last night. So he does something only 2 other players have done, and they are LeBron and Russell Westbrook. In that triple-double, because he'd always played with Dallas, by getting it against his old team, he's had a triple-double against every one of the 30 NBA teams. That's pretty amazing its own right. So I don't know if this is true. Somebody said before the game, in jest, he got in front of the Mavericks bench and did push-ups.
Sure did.
Just to say, he goes, I work out.
It wasn't right in front. He was kind of like closer to half court on the Lakers side, and he dropped down and started
did some push-ups?
repping out some push-ups.
I love that. Just to kind of rub it in their face, and then he beat the heck out of them. So that is pretty good. One last note before the clock tells us it's a specific time. But Diana Taurasi, you look at her career. She started with national championships at UConn. I think one perfect season, right? 39-0. Pretty outstanding. She goes to the WNBA. Not only is she their number 1 scorer with over 10,000 points, number 2 is almost 3,000 points away. That's how good Diana Taurasi was. And then add in 6 Olympic gold medals. Now, honestly, she didn't deserve the 6th. She should have had 5, and Caitlin Clark should have been in her position, in my mind, on that U.S. Olympic team this last time. But pettiness, including from Diana Taurasi, prevented her from being on the team. But the record books are going to say, from here until eternity, she got 6 Olympic gold medals, and I don't know if that'll ever be broken. That's a little like the DiMaggio hitting streak. That I don't think that'll ever be touched. That's pretty darn impressive. So Diana Taurasi, 42, said she's full, satisfied, good life. She did, and finally, at the age of 42, has decided to retire. Sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, spring is here. 75 today, is that right? Wow. So you might be thinking about above-ground pools. You may be thinking about sitting outside on that patio furniture that you can get for up to 70% off. And if you say, I heard about this sale on Sports 56. I heard it from Wolo. I heard it from Brian Dacus. You get a $250 gift card on any pool, spa, or piece of patio furniture you might purchase. 70% off plus $250. Please get to I-40 and Wooden Road. See our friends at Family Leisure. The clock has struck. You know what time it is.
It's time for Dennis on Dave. Dennis on Dave. Dennis on Dave. Welcome to Dennis on Dave.
Well, I'm almost confused because I never see Dennis Philippi dapper wearing a sport coat.
Looking
It's a sport
well
coat.
groomed. I mean, usually you come in here, you look like a bum. Now you look like you're out of GQ. It's incredible. I almost didn't recognize you.
I'm wearing the exact same thing I always wear, except I'm wearing a sport coat. That's the only difference. I needed the pockets, and it's too hot to wear a leather
See,
coat.
they say a sport coat can change your life.
Oh, yeah. Clothes make the man. There you
right.
go.
There you go.
I'm with you on last night. I enjoyed watching Grayson Allen fall apart because he was killing us. He was killing us. And so it was great to watch him suddenly fall apart. But I've talked about this with you off the air, and I've talked about this with friends of ours, is that I fear that what happens with Ja is he's had such slow starts lately, and so suddenly in the fourth quarter he's really pressing. I mean, last night he damn near hit his face on the rim.
Oh, that was
with that
incredible.
dunk. I mean, it was incredible.
He could have literally seriously kissed the rim. He could have.
I mean, it was incredible, but my fear is that is exactly how Ja is going to end up getting hurt because he presses instead of doing what we all want him to do, which is play fantastic point guard play, which he could do.
Yeah.
But he decides he absolutely has to take over scoring and does spectacular things, and that's exactly how he gets hurt. And I think that Ja is ultimately fragile, and that's what's gonna hurt the Grizzlies is that Ja is gonna press too hard, and he's gonna get hurt again.
Has anybody ever hurt themselves by hitting their head on the rim like a concussion?
I'm certain it's happened. Yeah, I'm sure it's happened.
I've never. I don't remember
it's not
but I could see that.
But that's not the fear of the injury. It's the coming down part that you worry about. Is him landing on somebody's foot. I mean, the injury that kills everyone.
Well, a long time ago, a good friend, Sean Toohey, who played the game at a very high level, used to say you could tell a really good player by when they go to the hole. No matter how much contact is made, when they come down in balance. Now, some people fall flopping because they want to get the call. I understand that. But for the most part, you can tell. If you come down and you're in balance, you're in pretty good stead. I think for the most part, he does do that.
I think Ja comes down out of control all the time. And he's going to end up landing on somebody's foot. And he's going to. It's what always happens. It's the injury that always happens to a guy who plays that out of control.
He's not played more than 5 games in a row this year.
Exactly.
Or in 2 years, I believe. We looked that up, right? It was 2 years or 3 years? I know the most games he ever played in a year was his rookie year, 67.
Season, and I think he had in the 60s the next year, and then hasn't been there since.
No.
Yeah, because he's just chronically going to be hurt because he plays out of control. That's just the way it is. Speaking to that point, sort of something that you mentioned. There's two things that are going on in sports right now to me is that you have people that are constantly bitching about how players are always hurt. They're constantly complaining about how players are always hurt. But then at the same time, you've got the same people who turn right around and complain about the wussification of sports. They're like, you can't. There's some guys in the NBA.
That's a great point.
Some guys in the NBA you can't touch because you're going to get a foul called. Well, sports are a meritocracy. If you're good, you get rewarded. And one way you get rewarded is the refs try to keep you from getting hurt. Because we don't want to see stars sitting on the bench with their knee wrapped because we want more contact in the NBA. Do you really want quarterbacks to be hit more in the NFL? I mean, people bitch about it all the time. Oh, you can't touch a quarterback anymore. That's because we want to see them play football.
So I hear your point. I do think there is a star system for calls,
and should be.
In particular in the NBA.
And should be.
My man Michael Jordan got the benefit of all the calls, and I loved it. But that's not my complaint. My complaint is load management. When you don't play stars just because you think they need a rest. And I am not pointing my finger at the player because this was brought upon by management. They made the decision, this guy's pretty valuable. We want to make sure he's ready for the bigger games, so we're not going to play him. And it doesn't matter that somebody's spending $1,000 for a seat down low. Who cares? We're gonna play the 12th guy instead of the star because we're saving him for another game.
I don't think you're going to find any fans that are going to argue with you on that. I mean, even if you're only if you're doing load management on a big star like LeBron, okay, play 5 minutes. At least let the people who have paid this much money see you. Let them see you put up a couple of shots, not sit there in street clothes. And because it's not like people want to pay $1,000 to go, wow, LeBron has got one sharp suit on today.
Yeah, right.
Look at that.
He looks like Dennis Phillippe today.
Is styling. Look at him. I had the same point that you did about Doncic getting the only the third triple-double against every single team. But my favorite part of that was the fans in L.A. chanting, "Thanks, Nico."
Oh, yeah. And he was there. Nico Harrison, the
GM of Dallas, was there, and they were chanting, "Thank you, Nico." He is so unemployed after this year.
I agree.
God.
So the only question I have is, what's the date he gets fired?
The day that the Mavs season ends.
What about AD? Will he play this year?
I don't see any reason why
He wasn't in the house last night.
No, and that's a pretty serious and constantly nagging injury, and it's effortless to re-aggravate it playing in the NBA. Other things that I've stumbled onto this week: the 32 NFL teams this year, all 32 combined, were fined $12 million. Players were fined.
Wow, where does that money go?
I don't know, into some charity. It goes to some charity. But what I love about this, the league, 32 teams. Did you already have this, Joe? I don't want to just step on your just. They were fined $12 million. $3 million of that was the Texans.
Wow.
The Texans were fined
what
a
have they done?
quarter. And get this, they're the only team that was fined over $1 million this year. The second place was the Chargers, who racked up a paltry $900,000 in fines. Meanwhile, the Houston Texans are so dirty.
That's crazy.
They were responsible for a fourth of the fines in the league.
Had you asked me before you said this,
who's the dirtiest team in the NFL?
I would never have picked the Texans.
No, I wouldn't have thought of it in a million years.
I remember that one hit. What was it on Trevor Lawrence with the Texans? I forget who it was. It was a real dirty hit. That was probably a big part of the fine.
I mean, my automatic habit would have been to just say
that's
the
a lot.
Ravens. If I had to just pick a team, go, who's the dirtiest team? I would have picked the Ravens. That just would have been my first guess.
Since you mentioned this, the tush push, the Green Bay Packers
Got
are
it on there.
trying to eliminate it. So the Eagles, and I'm kind of making this number up, but they had like 108 tush pushes.
Since 2022, 108.
Somebody was second with like just 60, and then the Bears were like 29, something like that. And that's it. Nobody else is tush pushing. What's going on? First of all, in theory, and I said this yesterday, I don't like the rule. I don't think the tush push
I'm not crazy about
should be legal because you're aiding somebody into the end zone. But how do you legislate it when you're in a dog pile? You can't see.
I said 2 months ago on this show. I said 2 months ago that in the offseason they were going to ban the brotherly shove because they run it a lot of different ways. It's not just grabbing Jalen Hurts' ass and shoving him into the end zone. They run it a bunch of different ways. And Sirianni, is the head coach of Philly, is really angry about this because they came up with something that's nearly indefensible. Yeah. And so that's, of course, why they're going to ban it, because it's impossible
They didn't
to
ban
defend.
They took a vote a couple of years ago. I don't know if that vote's going to change. I know, and I'll be honest with you, if you listen to the language of the Green Bay Packers GM, like, he doesn't really care if it gets that way. I think his boss, his owner, somebody said, we don't like this. Let's petition.
Well, it's not just the Packers that are doing it. I mean,
they're the only ones that they wouldn't even admit to it at first. They got outed.
Well, the owners are going to ban it. They're going to ban it because it gives a very strong, distinct advantage to one single team. And that's the thing the NFL hates the most, is one team having an advantage, because they want parity. They want every team to be more or less the same, despite the fact that the Titans and the Browns are still in the NFL. They want the teams to be more, at least competitive. That's what they want. They don't want one team to have a great advantage.
Right.
The Titans and the Browns, by the way, this tells you how weak the quarterback draft is. The Titans and the Browns have both made it clear that they want to move down. They don't want the first or second pick.
I agree.
Because there isn't a number one or number two pick in this draft.
Well, I don't
Certainly
think
not at
Sanders
quarterback.
or Ward are great quarterbacks. I don't see either of those becoming all-star caliber quarterbacks. I'm not sure either of them will be starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, this is a crappy draft. I mean, across the board, it's a crappy draft. And I love this. The GM of the Colts said he wants them to have an open competition at quarterback. Anthony Richardson is the only quarterback they have on their roster right now.
It'll definitely be open.
I mean, so they're saying, we hate our own quarterback so much, no matter who comes in, he's got a shot at being the starter. I mean, an open competition when there is no one to compete with him. I
think if I were like a free agent, if Seth Hennigan doesn't get drafted, that's where I'd want to go. I want to go to a place where there's not really a good QB. Give me a shot.
Well, any good quarterback is going to go to a team where there isn't a good quarterback. You may have this as well. The amount of income that Taylor Swift generated for the NFL this year. She is credited with having given just shy of $1 billion worth of publicity.
How can they quantify that?
All of the different ways that anytime that she is mentioned in the same breath with the Chiefs or she is mentioned in the same breath with the NFL, the same eggheads who do all the other analytics in sports have figured out that she generated just under $1 billion worth of promotion for the NFL.
Of promotion, but not merchandise.
No. This is just sheer publicity
sheer
for the
publicity.
NFL.
Okay.
But mainly because she got so many women's eyes turned to NFL games, which is a very difficult thing to accomplish.
So you're saying to me, by that notion, and I'm really not disputing it, but I kind of am. You're saying we've got new women eyeballs watching Kansas City play every week just to get a glimpse of Taylor Swift in the box.
No, just because they're being made aware of it because they are in her universe. They're in the Swift universe. And whatever she says watch, they watch.
That's right.
That's just how it works.
It's crazy.
It is a nation of Taylor Swift sheep. And that's great. Good for them. Good for the NFL. Everybody wins. I love this story. Broncos linebacker coach Michael Wilhoit, apparently he parked illegally at DIA, the Denver International Airport. He parked illegally. And so a cop said, you can't park there. And he said less than politely told the cop to shut up. I'll let you fill in the blanks. And then punched the cop.
What?
Yes, then punched the cop. This is the
Never
linebackers
a good
coach.
idea.
This is the linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos, who was then promptly tased by the cop at the airport. It had almost no effect on Will Hoyt, who promptly got in his, I'm not making this up, Bronco and drove away. The Broncos linebacker coach was tased by an airport cop and then got in his Bronco and drove away.
I am assuming he got arrested.
He's in big trouble. You don't get to punch a cop. It's a rule. And Bill Belichick, I'm sure you all saw this, fell asleep at the Carolina game.
I did.
I mean, I know the Tar Heels stink, but dude, stay awake. I mean, you got a 27-year-old girlfriend. Step up.
And she was right next to him.
Yeah, she was right next. I can't imagine what those two have to talk about. Wake up, Poppy. Come on, wake up. You're on camera, for God's sake. And I know we're all very, very excited about flag football being in the 2028 Olympics. So the NFL has actually had to have a vote about allowing NFL players to play in the Olympics, something that's never happened before, because there was no way football was ever going to be an Olympic sport.
Did they say okay?
They have agreed. It's okay for NFL players to play flag football, which is the TGL of football.
Sure is.
I get you. That's great. But you know what that'll do for? That really does market the league. You're getting. I don't know. Joe can tell me how many millions watch the Olympics. They'll all be watching because America. If there's a USA uniform, we're watching.
We'll watch it, and then we'll come on the air and talk about how stupid flag football is.
A lot of flag footballers upset that the NFLers are able to play. They're starting quarterback. The USA flag football starting quarterback super mad that the NFLers are getting to play.
Well, that's just not somebody you want to upset.
Said he could compete with any of those quarterbacks on the flag football field.
Except he's really upset that he has to.
Exactly.
It's like, I can compete with any of these guys. I just don't want to.
I would rather have Mahomes running around than whoever this guy is. Thank you, Dennis. As always, we appreciate it. Dennis on Dave, brought to you in part by Dinstall's, because it's always so sweet to hear from Dennis. But let me give you this news. It's even better to hear. It's the strawberries. They are here. They are in full supply. Yes, you can not only get strawberries, but guess what else is back? Grapes, pineapple, all dipped with the incredible chocolate of Dinstall's. Now, I'm not sure with the grapes or the pineapple that you get the fondant that you do with the strawberries. Now, the strawberries in that fondant, that is scientifically incredible, because that fondant, nobody knows what's in it. It's sweet. That breaks down the berry. That's why it's so juicy. That's why if you have a chocolate-covered strawberry from Dinstall's, never eat it over your lap. You always must lean over the plate. I'm just telling you. Dinstles, 5 places to get them. You know, I was just in the one downtown after the game on, when was it? Sunday? I think so. After the game Sunday, we went to the Orpheum to see Hamilton, and we were walking by, and I said, let's go into this Dinstles. I got to see what it looks like. It is so cute in there. It really is. You got the Burbs, you got Collierville, you got Germantown. You got it in my neck of the woods. That's Laurelwood, and, of course, where they make it on Pleasant View. Go get your strawberries. Be a hero to somebody. Get over to Dinstles. We'll talk business. That's Business of Sports with Joe Dank. He comes your way in just a minute. Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
If wedding bells are in your future, you need an unforgettable engagement ring from a jeweler you can trust. And that's been James Gaddis Jewelers for over 60 years. With a huge selection and the best prices, James Gaddis is a master jeweler and diamondologist. Beautiful jewelry from James Gaddis is always the right choice. Choose from rings to earrings, necklaces to bracelets, and gemstones to watches. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar, online at GaddisJewelers.com and Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. Say I do at James Gaddis Jewelers.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Benswinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Benswinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Benswinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood and across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Benswinger Glass.
It's your time to upgrade into a new ride from Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike. 2025 Jetta S, buy it now, $20,499. 2024 Taos SE, $249 a month or $28,616. More front and rear headroom and longer warranty than Crosstrek or CX-30. 2024 Tiguan S, more cargo space, torque, and warranty than Escape or RAV4, only $279 a month. Plus all 2024 Atlas SE LP conditions, $5,000 off MSRP. So get to Gossett Volkswagen today, 1875 Covington Pike, online, GossettVWMemphis.com. And remember, no reasonable offer will be refused. Gossett's where we're charging forward and charging less every day. If you want it, we got it at Gossett Volkswagen. 7,500 miles, 3,100 down, Taos, RMO 56,983, MSRP 31,939, Tiguan RM 144,331, MSRP 31,363, Jetta SMO 45,444, Atlas 3,500 bonus customer cash 1,500, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, excludes tax title and license, see dealer for complete details, offer valid through end of the month with approved credit, dealer stock only.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes. Or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger-buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
Tiger Nation, Memphis men's basketball is back in action at FedEx Forum Wednesday, February 26th at 7 when the Tigers welcome the Rice House to the 901. It will be our Wear Black game, sponsored by Regional One Health, as fans are encouraged to show off their favorite Black Memphis gear. Tiger Nation will also be treated to a special halftime performance from Drummers Unlimited. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and cheer on your first place Tigers. Be sure to get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 11 to join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is a PCUSA church in downtown Memphis.
Big news this week. There was a public divorce between ESPN and Major League Baseball. Here to sort through all of that is Joe Dank. former GM at 24 and 30, and of course, former producer, director of Big Time Sports. So, what's your make of this? What happened?
Well, so interestingly, I mean, the ESPN had an option in the contract with 3 years to go to opt out if they wanted to.
Right.
And according to all the reports that you can look into on this, they didn't necessarily want to get out of the deal, but they did seek relief. And relief means they wanted either something more or they wanted to pay less. And baseball said no.
So the price was that they've been paying. And remember, this is not exclusive stuff, right? Maybe Sunday night is.
Sunday night is, yes, absolutely exclusive. And then the wild card playoffs. So they had a good package of stuff.
$570 million, right?
That's the number.
What they had to pay.
They were paying $570 million.
They pay the NBA double that, by the way.
That's right. They get more. They get a lot more in the NBA deal. But they wanted some relief on this deal. Baseball said no. Now, there were two things that baseball did that made ESPN go, why are we paying $570 million for Sunday night baseball, some highlight deals for their other programming, as well as the that wild card round. There is a Apple TV Friday night baseball deal, and it is exclusive to Apple TV. It's once a week. It's a doubleheader on Friday nights, but that costs $80 million.
That's it.
There is a Sunday morning baseball deal.
Really?
On Roku TV, previously on Peacock for 2 years, but it's on Roku TV now.
What do they get for that?
$10 million.
10?
So those two deals combined were less than $100 million, and ESPN was paying $570 million. So maybe when baseball did those deals, they signaled that there was a devaluation of the product. That got ESPN's interest. So they agreed to part ways. Now, interestingly, the commissioner said we are not going to take a smaller deal on a shrinking platform. That's what he called ESPN, a shrinking platform.
Well, there is truth to that. If you sort of look at it, right?
You can make that case. Certainly, ESPN is now in just under 54 million homes in America.
In their heyday?
And at one time, it was 100 million.
So they're half?
Discounts.
Holy mackerel.
It's a huge decrease. So
but wait a second. Do you really think they're down to just 54 million? Or were they really only 54 million and they were tied to cable systems as part of mandatory buying of basic cable? That's how they got to 100 million. So they never really had more viewers. They just had the connection.
Look, this is not about viewers. This was about subscribers that they were able to collect a per-sub fee. And that per-sub fee has always been the highest in the industry. It is somewhere between $9 and $10 per subscriber.
Well, that's not higher than HBO.
Per month. Yes, that's what the cable operator is paying ESPN.
Right.
That's not what the subscriber pays.
I got you.
Okay? So, no, it's the highest in the industry.
Wow,
by
I didn't
far.
realize that.
By far. And, for example, like TNT is $3. ESPN is between 9 and 10 per month times one. At one time 100 million. Yeah. So that adds up to real money as the old line goes. But so this is a big deal, and it got me thinking, and I started thinking about this line came to me the other night, and I said, don't say no to ESPN, Commissioner Manfred, because let's look at a couple of cases and a couple of examples, okay?
Okay.
In 2011, the Big East Conference, you'll remember it was a combination of the Catholic universities that played basketball only, but there were a lot of teams in the league that had football as well.
Well, Memphis at the very end was one of those.
Was getting into it. But in 2011, the Big East Conference, which was receiving about $30 million, $35 million a year from ESPN, walked on a deal that would have paid them $155 million.
What a dumb decision.
And that was in 2011. And not coincidentally, the first year of the American Conference was 2013. And the reason the American came about is because the Big East dissolved.
Right.
Okay? Let's fast forward to 2022, just 2 years ago. ESPN offered what was left of the Pac-12, which was 10 schools, $30 million per school per year. And those schools said no.
That commissioner who's no longer involved in college athletics said no.
And there's no
What a
longer
dumb
the
deal.
Pac-12
That's
as
right.
we knew it.
So the Big East explodes, becomes only basketball, and the Pac-12 went away, and they both said no to ESPN.
Right.
Do you think, we'll never know, but do you think, had they said yes, those entities would still be together?
Yes.
And if that were the case, and Memphis had been a Big East school, all of these survival things would not be in existence. They wouldn't be sweating losing a conference game like they do now in basketball.
Well, conceivably, yes.
Yeah.
Their lot in life would be much better.
It would be.
It
for
would
sure.
be much better than it is right now. So, but again, the moral of this story, don't say no to ESPN. And the other thing is this. So now baseball said no to ESPN on the $570 million. You got to come up with that somehow. There's 3 seasons left in this deal.
When are their deals with Fox, with Turner, which is TBS as well? I'm sure Apple and Amazon are still going to be involved. Who knows if Roku's going to be involved?
That's right.
I wonder if there's a wild card we haven't thought about. CW? I don't know. Is there anybody else in there that baseball can turn to replace ESPN?
Well, as you may know, I mean, Fox and Turner have existing deals.
Exactly.
Fox has an over-the-air broadcast deal as well as on FS1 for baseball, and they do the World Series and All-Star Game. Turner has a weekly game, and Turner gets the Division Series as well as an LCS. So those two are already in. Fox is in for just over $700 million, and Turner is in for around $410 million a year already. So hard to believe they want to spend more. So the commissioner has to go out and find somebody else. This is for now. None of this affects the current baseball season that's about to start.
Right.
This will be the last year. But the deal then remains for the years 26, 27, and 28. And that's what the commissioner has to find a way. He's looking for more than $1.5 billion here to replace the money that's going away from ESPN.
So he's looking for over $500 million because he wanted more. He's walking away from what did we say, 570?
Yeah.
And really what that is the Sunday night game and the wild card series?
Right. They were exclusive on the wild card series, is all of the wild cards.
Huh. I don't know. I don't know where he's going to get it. That'll be interesting to see. You mentioned $54 million. Mm-hmm. That's what ESPN is down to. Does that include the streaming services of ESPN Plus? What kind of numbers do they get with that? That seems to me. I know that ESPN gave the American pretty good money to start all the American schools producing their own TV games,
right,
so that they could pick them up. That was the theory, and it really came from ESPN. What percentage of is it more? Is it 54 million plus ESPN Plus, or is that a part of the 54 million? How many people really use ESPN Plus? I know I'm a subscriber, but it's my business.
Of course it is. ESPN Plus currently has 25 million subscribers.
Wow.
And those are independent of the
of the 54 million?
Yes. Because if these are people strictly paying the $11.99 a month to subscribe to ESPN Plus.
I think I paid $100 straight up.
Well, okay, but what I'm saying is the retail price, published price, is $11.99 a month for ESPN Plus. There's 25 million subscribers for that. Now, in the third quarter of last year, ESPN Plus generated a $66 million profit for ESPN.
Wow.
So it's a huge number.
These guys are smart.
Well,
they figured out something.
They're spending a fortune, by the way, though. Remember,
right.
I mean, all those leagues, every smaller league has a huge presence there. You and I have commented on this to one another multiple times on an evening. When you look, there could be 50 basketball games there.
Oh, yeah.
And to build that infrastructure and to have people building control rooms and all that, they did that in the ACC. They did that in the SEC. And remember, it's all the Olympic sports as well. You know it better than anyone. You're doing the games.
Right.
Softball, volleyball, women's basketball. All of that stuff is on ESPN
Baseball.
Plus. Huge investment from a production standpoint, huge investment from an infrastructure standpoint to get those games there.
But it made $66 million. So they're getting their money back.
They figured it out.
That is for sure. Last thing, NHL, NBA All-Star comparison. The NHL All-Star Four Nations Championship game.
Yes.
The most watched NHL game in the history of the league and of TV. Now, that doesn't include the Olympic Games, okay? 9.4 million watched that. The NBA dragged its heels on even revealing the number they got for the All-Star game, and the last one I saw was 4.7 million. So basically, the NHL, not nearly as popular as the NBA, I don't think, overall, got half the amount of viewers the NHL did. The NBA's got to fix the All-Star game.
Absolutely. So really two things from this. The All-Star game is absolutely broken, and it's a disaster from a TV viewership standpoint, okay? Mm-hmm. The flip side is the NHL caught lightning in a bottle with the greatest stunt that somebody's come up with in a long time, and it caught like wildfire, and it just went crazy. And it was amazing. People were watching that hockey game who don't watch hockey.
They can't do that next year, right? Because
Olympics.
Instead of that, they'll have the Olympics
right.
2 years from now.
Wouldn't
they go back to that?
Conceivably.
I would think they would after that success.
Right. But, I would suggest that what drove it this year obviously won't exist then in many ways, only because now it's already been done. This was one of those things. This exceeded anyone's expectation.
Yeah.
Nobody said, let's almost get 10 million people to watch a hockey game. I know what to do. Let's do this. That was not it.
No.
They said, what do we do instead of our All-Star game, which frankly had the same types of problems as the NBA All-Star game. And so they did this. Now, the interesting thing, though, is in place of the All-Star game, there's this guy named Ovechkin. He didn't play in it, right? Because he's not in one of the four nations.
Right.
So you had some guys play in this who would not have been an all-star, and you had some guys who should have been all-stars who weren't in it because of how it was put together.
It goes to show you, if you put in patriotism and you put in effort, really playing,
right,
people will watch. The NBA's got to figure this one out. I think if they go international versus USA, that would start it if those guys want to play. The problem is, if you're a Supermax guy, like most of these, like 15 of these NBA All-Stars are, they don't care about money. They're making $70 million. They don't care about money.
They don't, but they might care about that. But again, you get into the same interesting thing here. How do you balance two rosters? Because are you going to have anybody on a team, on a world team, who would not otherwise be an all-star but makes that team because he's a foreign player?
Maybe, but not very many. I mean, if you look at the starting five I can name to you, they may be the five best guys in the NBA.
And then are you going to have a legitimate all-star who should be there, who's not international, who doesn't find a place on a team? That is interesting. That's just a challenge from it. That's the one challenge to it that I see.
Yeah. You know what I hear? The most thing I'm interested in is the world was watching the NHL players in this Cup. I mean, we saw that. There was so much interest. Will this carry over for the rest of the regular season in the National Hockey League? Food to ponder about. In the meantime, Joe Dank, brought to you by the good folks at Grind City Brewing with Gator Patrol. That's the tangerine cream sour. Or any of their great products like Tiger Tail. That's the very different malt liquor, not like your grandfather's malt liquor. You can get any of their great products. I will tell you, I urge you to go down and see the brewery. It's a modern brewery just north of downtown by a few blocks. You get a great view of the city, of the bridges. They got this picnic area with picnic tables and umbrellas, and they're building a stage there. This is going to be a permanent concert venue. They've already had so many successful concerts and comedy shows and everything else. Grind City has become an iconic place, not just for the drink, but for hanging around. You got to go check it out. Tell them we sent you to Grind City. We take a break. When we come back, Munzie ends our Wednesday. The commercial appeal beat writer on the Tigers, he's right around the corner.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Hello. Hey, little sis. Did you get your W-2 yet?
Yes, I did.
Well, last year when I told you to file early to get your refund quick?
Yes, I remember.
Well, go ahead and call now, and you can get your refund fast.
Thanks. That's why I love you. Always looking out for your little sis.
To get your taxes filed quick and get your refund fast, go to Brenton Tax Service, located in Midtown Memphis on Madison Avenue. We may not be related to you, but at Brenton Tax Service, we protect you like family.
I'm so excited.
I had a feeling you'd be excited.
That doesn't even begin to describe how I feel about the new Central Barbecue location on Central.
Well, technically, it's the same location.
Same location, but a very different Central Barbecue on Central.
I get what you're saying, but I don't want to confuse people. The new Central Barbecue location on Central is the same place as the old Central Barbecue on Central.
But it's so much more. It's big, for one thing.
It is a whole lot bigger. Well, I think it has to be.
Because everybody in Memphis is going to be flocking to the new Central Barbecue location on Central.
Where the old Central Barbecue on Central used to be.
Details.
Exercise. The exercise coach is ready for you. Strength training only takes 20 minutes twice a week with special computerized exercise equipment designed to maximize your workouts and minimize your time. An exercise coach gives you personal workouts by one-on-one with a trainer. Check out the exercise coach at exercisecoach.com/Lakeland or injury or knowledge.
It's the Mitsubishi Motors Spring Sales Event at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage. We Gossett. $249 a month or buy for $18,410 gets 43 mpg. 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid PHEV. Compare to Mazda CX-90. Better range, better warranty, and we Gossett at $299 per month or buy for $42,900. Ready to upgrade your ride? Get 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander. $399 a month or buy for $29,460. Plus, get peace of mind with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today to start your year off right. 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
MSRP 18410, PHEV RZO 59821, MSRP 489, Outlander RZO 67325, MSRP 33210, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, excludes tax title license, CD for complete details, offer valid through end of the month with approved credit dealer stock only.
Of everything that is alive.
Oh, yeah, we always end our Wednesdays with Jason Munz from the Commercial Appeal. Tigers play the Rice Owls tonight at FedEx Forum. It's the second to last regular season home game this year. We got a Tuesday, Friday crazy trip coming up where Friday the Tigers will end a week from 2 days from now. I guess 9 days. They will end a Tuesday, Friday swing. Kind of weird. We'll get into that in a second. But Jason Munz, I know you were around when Dane Danger proclaimed he could come back next year. He's got an extra year. I think you've written to the contrary. What can you tell us about that? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, unfortunately for him and for Memphis, as it stands right now, he does not actually have an extra year of eligibility. And I mean, we could get into the weeds. It's kind of complicated. But essentially, I mean, he can apply for a waiver if he wants to. But as we've seen in the past, these waivers, these eligibility waivers, don't just hand them out when the circumstances are as cut and dry as they are. In Dane's case, and basically what it boils down to is he did not meet initial eligibility requirements when he enrolled at Baylor for the 2020-2021 season, which was the year that the NCAA gave everybody a COVID extension. Basically, that was if you were eligible that season, you got an extra year of eligibility. Unfortunately for Dane, he was not eligible that season, and there you have it.
But would his waiver appeal be for that, or would it be for 3 games he played at Baylor and then left? Could he get that year back? You know, it's so crazy. I was just thinking about this. In football, you can play 4 games, right?
Right.
And you keep your year. In fact, it's designed by some coaches to play you the last 4 games because you're allowed to do that and you don't lose the year of eligibility. Whereas basketball, if you play 30 seconds of one game on paper, you lose that year. Now, you can medical hardship that and get that year back somehow, some way. They always come up with ways. But it seems to be there should be more uniformity between the sports. But in the end, is he appealing the COVID year or is he appealing 3 games played at Baylor?
I mean, either way, it's not. I don't. It's an extreme long shot either way, because he did play. He played 3 games at Baylor in the 21-22 season, and then transferred mid-year to Illinois, where he sat out the rest of the year. And as we saw, I mean, like, this is not uncommon. Caleb Mills played a few games at Houston a few years ago, and then transferred to Florida State. That's what they tried to appeal last season to get him an extra year, and it didn't work.
It was denied, and if I recall, DeAndre Williams, the same sort of thing, right?
His was way more about misadvisement and like that one. You talk about convoluted. Like that one was so deep in the weeds, and it's been a few years now that I don't even remember like how it all played out. But this is less complicated, but just as unlikely as it's been explained to me and my understanding of the rules. He can certainly, and I think he's probably going to apply for a waiver, but it's a long shot.
Well, I wish him the best of luck, because let's just say you got Haggerty back, if you do, because I just heard Greg Gaston talk about how SEC teams are stockpiling money to try to lure him away. But if you had Danger and Haggerty back to build the team around for next year, my goodness, you'd be off and running.
Yeah, if you get those 2 guys. I mean, if that's where you're starting, if you're Memphis, then of course there are other guys that are on the current roster who are eligible to return. Baraka Koje's one, PJ Carter is another. Dink Yates, we could, he's on the tip of everybody's tongue. He can come back next year if he wants to. But yeah, if you're starting with PJ Haggerty and Dane Danger, then you're talking about preseason top 25 level stuff next year.
You brought up Dink, Demarion Yates, kid from Fayette Ware, Somerville. He was 3A, not the biggest, but 3A is not the smallest either, Mr. Basketball. He himself told me on the postgame show the other night, he just didn't feel he was ready, and he wanted more development, which is why he went JC. And then he came to Memphis as a walk-on because he wanted to return home. Penny has given him since a scholarship. He is on scholarship now. Every time he comes in the game, he does sort of make a difference. His defense, I think, has limited him a little bit, but he was pretty darn good the other night. Do we think that he will be a rotation regular now after what he did the other night in that game?
I'm skeptical just because, I mean, maybe for the rest of the regular season, but and even that, it seems questionable to me just because, and it's not because of Dink. It's got nothing to do with him. It's got everything to do with how many guys you've got in front of him who 99 times out of 100 are your better option. You know what I mean? Like, he's just got too many people in front of him. That's what I mean. Like, unless Penny is going to start playing 10 guys again, then I don't see how. I mean, again, don't get me wrong. Like he absolutely was a difference maker in that game the other night against FAU. Memphis, the starters they just didn't have it out of the gate, and Penny needed to do something drastic, and he did by bringing in a guy who's only played 21 minutes all season long.
Yeah.
And by the time he came off the floor, he had filled up just about every column in the stat sheet in just 6 minutes. They weren't huge numbers, but they were important minutes, and he impacted the game in a very positive way.
I thought he changed the game. I thought at that point, first of all, there was foul trouble. That's why on the bigs. That's why he got into the game. But I thought his 3 minutes in the first half changed the game. It swung total momentum to Memphis.
It certainly gave him a spark. Memphis was still losing when he came off the floor, but only by 2 points. And then there was that stretch where Memphis got like 3 offensive rebounds on one possession, and then they got, I think the next possession or 2 possessions later, they got 2 more offensive rebounds. And it was like that to me was the turning point. I mean, because they never trailed again after that stretch. But to get to that point, you needed Dink Yates. And I mean, yeah, he was every bit as important as just about anybody else in that game, besides maybe Dane Danger.
It definitely was a fun story, that's for sure. All right. I'm gonna play a tough game for you here. A tough supposition. We know how penalizing losing in the American can be. Let's just say Memphis had won the game in regulation in Wichita. Colby Rogers' shot goes through. Tigers win. What's their seed line today?
Probably a 5.
You think they were 4 in Lenardi at that time, I believe, or Palm, and they wouldn't have lost. Do you think they would still be a 5?
I think as we sit here today, here's where it gets a little bit hairy. So this is the analogy that I gave to somebody else. Memphis is running a race with these other teams that are kind of around them in the seeding picture. They're running a race, and Memphis is every bit as athletic as the other teams that are around them. They're every bit as smart as the other teams around them. They just don't have the same, like the other teams just seem to have longer legs right now. Like when the teams around Memphis win games, they gain more ground than Memphis does. And it's because of the conference that Memphis is in. Like Memphis beating Wichita State and say Ole Miss beating, pick somebody, Missouri, or Ole Miss beating Florida, or you know what I mean? Like somebody who's kind of in the same general boat as Memphis, when they are beating teams that are in their conference, it carries more weight than the teams that Memphis is beating. And so it's not that Memphis isn't gaining ground. It's just that other teams are gaining more ground when they win games.
Yeah.
So I think that is ultimately what is kind of handicapping Memphis right now. There's just this, they're almost just treading water. Honestly, I mean,
if they win out, and we've only got about 15 seconds. If they win out, what's the max seed line they could get? And don't give me the championship game on Sunday because they'll Saturday have everything figured out. What's the max if they were to win, 4 games plus 2, 6 games in a row?
I would say probably a 5, but that's going to be borderline. It's going to be borderline. I think 5 is the best they can do.
Wow, that's tough. That's why you've got to make every effort to figure out something with this league. Jason Munz, can't wait to see you tonight at FedEx Forum. Thank you much, and we will talk next Wednesday.
Hey, congrats on your honor. That was a nice moment on the court the other night.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a special night for me and for my family. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you, Jason.
All right. See you tonight.
That's Jason Munz, beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. He's brought to you by Southern Security. You need some cash? You can refinance your auto loan with Southern Security, and you won't have a payment for 60 days. Southern Security will finance up to 115% of the current value of your vehicle, and that's for up to 72 months. To find out how you can put more cash in your pocket, just call. They have member service team guys ready at 901-452-7900, or just go to the website, southernsecurity.org. Southern Security, a proud supporter of Tiger Athletics and 901 Women. Southern Security, that's your home team credit union for 75 years now, and they're federally insured by NCUA. That does it. Wednesday's in the books. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Johnny Radio is right around the corner. Have a great day, everyone.